You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Business Wealth Impact. We're welcoming Andrew Sossin here. Andrew is the CEO and founder of Recovery Unplugged Behavioral Health. He's led a consistent, proactive, and responsible expansion of the company from a singular treatment facility in South Florida to a national mental health and addiction treatment organization, which now helps thousands of clients per year from all over the country find their way to long-lasting recovery and stability. His experience, passion, and advocacy have also allowed him to sit on several boards like Nova Southeastern University, Face the Music Foundation, Jewish Center for Science, and he's also a member of the United Way Tocqueville Society. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Lovely to have you. So I want to hear about your story. You know, you've done quite a few things, I know, in your life because we were chatting and I'd heard about some of those things. Now you have this amazing, wonderful, very valuable service. And I want to just ask you, how did you get where you are now? Let's just go through that. How did Andrew get where he is now, helping thousands of people?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely not what I thought I'd be doing. For 17 years, I was in the insurance industry. Grew that to many states. I was licensed in 40 states with insurance, worked with athletes and entertainers, had a call center in 2 countries. And unfortunately, at the time, my wife and I were helping several family members who were battling addiction. I've known my wife since we were in middle school. We grew up together, went to middle school, high school, and college together. We were always friends, started dating after, but I always, as we grew up, saw the challenges that several of our family members were facing. And so after we got married, we were paying for a lot of treatment. And I made a joke on my way home from a Tony Robbins seminar, which was part joke, part truth, which was it would be cheaper for me to open up a treatment center than to keep paying for all of these people to go to other ones. My friend that I'd said this to, he said, all right, well, when are we going to do that? Because you can't leave a Tony event and make a comment like that and not act. And so he introduced me to a gentleman who had helped create the mental health and drug court system here in South Florida that became the model for the nation. And that gentleman, Paul, had this idea of using music as a catalyst for therapy. And at the time, one of our family members had been arrested for prescription pills. She got arrested by an undercover DEA agent that was my friend I grew up with, which is a whole movie we'll write on a different day. And what I realized then, for the first time, was when she was going to be sentenced, she was an addict, not a criminal. And the system was not set up correctly at the time, even with what they had done. So Paul helped intervene and with Marshall, the attorney's help, get her sentence and her cousin's sentence reduced. And so that led us to this meeting where we understood I understood for the first time, there's got to be a better way. And it all kind of culminated in, us meeting with Paul. Paul was good friends with a gentleman named Richie Supa. Richie's a former award-winning singer-songwriter, toured with Aerosmith as well as many other groups. And he had this idea called Recovery Unplugged that was kind of this idea where he took music into treatment centers, but didn't really know much more what to do with it. And at that lunch, we came together with, we're gonna put this on a different level. I understand the business aspect. I want to help people. I'm already spending time, effort, energy, and resources on all of these people, in our family and friends. Let's see if we can help them. And if we can help them, then we can help others. And that's how we started.
That is fascinating. That is such an organic way of doing this. Okay. So you were already putting time, energy, and money into it. So it's like, this was like providential that you needed to come up with this. It's so like neat, right? Okay. So then what happened? You opened the center. You had to go find a place, right?
Well, that in itself is its own, crazy story where we were going to open up a small center, which we did. But the starting of it was, nobody wanted a treatment center in their backyard. So finding a location, getting the proper zoning, getting people to agree. And then on the financial aspect of it, we had the two parts of it. We had real estate that needed to be bought,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough money to buy that, but I had enough money that I was putting together myself to do the operations. So we literally had a group of people that we met with. I met with one person who said they were going to be our real estate partner. 10 days before the closing, I've already put up my own personal money as the deposit.
Mm.
The person decided they would no longer be able to be our partner. So it literally came down to 48 hours before me losing the deposit, which at the time was every dollar I had in my savings.
Mm.
We found somebody else who had randomly called me. Again, I was in the insurance industry to buy an annuity.
Mm-hmm.
When I told him at the time the annuity rates were like 2.8%, he screamed that that wasn't going to work. And I told him there's a building that I'm involved with that we want to do this treatment center for. He knew real estate. He met me an hour later, and he bought the building 24 hours later, which became our first location.
Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy. It's like the seat of your pants. Okay, so you got the center, and I know it's not like, hey, and then we just did this. So what was the time from when you decided to do this to getting your building?
So it took about 8 months
Okay.
to find the place, apply for the licensing,
Mm-hmm.
do all that situation. And then we started small. We started with, a 30-bed outpatient center here in Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
We had less than, a dozen original employees and then some 1099 contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Our first secretary was also a part-time therapist, was also cleaning up with,
Mm-hmm.
our first furniture was the folding chairs from my house,
Right.
and tables. Literally, that's how we started. And very early on, we understood. We had an amazing medical director who's still our medical director 10 years later. At our clinical team, that by utilizing music as a catalyst
Mm.
for evidence-based therapy, we could actually make a difference.
Mm.
And I saw it, from day one. But over the first several months, when I had one of our own family members there that had been to over 30 treatment centers, when she finally, for the first time, I didn't know she'd be still well 10 years later. But when I saw a difference for the first time, I said, okay, we got something here that I think really is going to work. It's not, people didn't understand. I had people calling me, they're like, I don't get it. We're going to play the guitar and stop drinking. They didn't understand the power of using music. No matter what you do
Right.
in your daily life,
Right.
everybody uses music. So, the first, year we try to figure out how to get this model working better. And so 2013, the end of 13, we opened October 2013, 14. And by 2015, it was like, okay, we've helped, dozens of people, hundreds of people. We were treating about 25 people a month. And I said, okay, this has got to be more. And because of the music aspect, we looked at, Austin, Nashville, and Los Angeles. LA was too far. And so we decided, Austin would be next. And so we opened up our Austin facility in 2016.
Okay, so how does it work? Because you said people like what you play music and get well. First of all, you said this family member had been to how many? 30 places already?
Yes.
30? That must have cost an arm and a leg to be checked into 30 different facilities. And
yeah, and
it didn't. None of them worked.
No.
Okay, so tell me specifically. I'm fascinated. I'm sure the listeners are too. What does work about it? How does this work?
Yeah, it's quite simple because it's not one specific thing. It's the fact that evidence-based treatment, cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, EDMRT, motivational interventions, these things actually work when you're engaged. And so the biggest challenge with treatment, especially for friends and family over the years, is, okay, we check them into a 30-day program, and the first 29 days they try to escape, and maybe they get one day of therapy. What we learned very early on to this day is by using music as a catalyst, we're able to break down defense and build rapport. So in the first 24 to 48 hours, not because they heard a song, they're all better, but they're now allowing and accepting the fact that they're going to attempt to get better. And so we get to do more therapy because they're open to it. And so the best way to explain it in a quick minute is, before somebody comes to us, we find out what they're battling, right? Is it prescription pills? Is it alcohol? We find out, their history, but we also find out the music they love, the music they hate, what they associate to sobriety, what they associate to happiness and sadness. And so for our first interaction with them, whether we're picking them up from the airport or their house, whatever their first interaction, it could be when they're in our facility doing an intake, we have a song playing that they associate a positive emotion to. And for the first time in days, weeks, months, or even years, they look, it's happened, I've seen it thousands of times. They're like, I love this song. And we'll say, we know. And now that person, they're seen, they're heard, what they say matters. And again, it doesn't mean it's going to work. It's just that first layer that we're able to go over. Start.
No, well, this isn't, music soothes the wild beast. What was that saying? Is it music soothes the wild beast?
Something like that.
Something like that. I mean, this is known. And addiction is a wild beast in your head. So it kind of makes sense to me. I mean, you would think that they would have thought of this sooner, seeing that every single event we go to, like Tony Robbins events, they pump music out to get us into a state so that we are more receptive. So this seems obvious, actually, when you think about it. Surprised nobody thought of this earlier.
Again, I think that, other people and other modalities haven't used music, but it's always been an add-on. It's always been something else. It's always been something additional. It's never been the core. And so we realized two things, which we didn't even know in the beginning. In the beginning, it was, we'll use music as a catalyst, and then we'll be able to help people. About 6 months, 8 months, I remember in 2014, what we realized was it worked also on the staff, meaning at every one of our facilities, in every single hallway room, there's always different types of music playing based on the therapists, the nurses, the behavioral health technicians that are there. They get to choose their own playlists, which also put them in a good state, put them in a good mood. And when they're more calm, engaged, and happy, they actually work better with the clients. So we use music as a catalyst for the clients, and we use music as a catalyst for the staff.
That is makes so much sense to me. Makes so much sense to me because, even in my working day, sometimes I'll go jump on the trampoline to music to get in another state. Right. And I know a lot of people work all day long with music. Just, I don't want to do it all day long, but, it's true that just lifts your state. I mean, that's why we love music. So this is fascinating. So what do you feel what made you succeed at this? Because, let's face it, a lot of people could have had the same idea, right? Because we have a lot of ideas that are good. And what made you succeed? Why did this work with you running this?
I believe it's the people. Both sides of it, meaning our motto since day one is the clients come first, the clients come second, the clients come third. Speaking about even, when you're talking about even the name of your podcast, in the beginning, I did make the mistake of, I was really running a really good nonprofit, but we're a for-profit, right? And I didn't know that in the beginning. I really didn't. I just thought, we'll do good, we'll help people, and everything will work out. Well, we get paid from insurance companies, which, they're not in the business of paying claims. They're in the business of collecting premiums and denying claims. And it took me a couple of years and almost going out of business to learn that. But why we're successful is because we've always put the clients first and our staff first. And if I fast forward to today, we just celebrated 10 years in October. And if I look at, our first ever employee, Christine, who answered the phone, literally went in the middle of the night and pulled a family member of mine out of a drug house and saved their life, and is now became our executive director, right? She'd been with us 10 years. I look at our first half a dozen employees 10 years later, right? They believe in what we're doing. So I created I helped create the vision, but the team had to buy into that vision. And once we saw what we were doing working better than other programs, the reason why we were able to duplicate that. And if I look at Austin, right? 2 of our people from Florida moved to Austin. 2 of our people from Florida moved to Northern Virginia. a person from Austin in Florida moved to Nashville. And so every one of our centers, Recovery Unplugged is Recovery Unplugged is Recovery Unplugged, because people from our culture have bought into the culture because it works and have gone to open up other centers. So the reason why we're successful is because we do care about the outcome and we go above and beyond, what we are required to do, because also a majority of our employees are they themselves in recovery from addiction or mental health. And it's a lifetime thing. And so, we've been able to help others because we're helping ourselves while helping others.
Okay, so you're missing something here. You do realize it's your leadership that made this work, because hiring the right people is a sign of good leadership, and it all comes from the top. So I love that you're saying it's all the staff, and I know that the workings are because of the staff, and you're part of that. But the fact that you got those people together and made it work, that came from you. So I want to congratulate you there, because you're very humble, and
Thank you.
You totally.
Well, I also believe it's
that.
the mindset. Well, it's the mindset that I have, that we've brought over 200 of our employees through Tony Robbins UPW. And we have dozens of our employees currently enrolled in Unblinded with Sean and other things as well. I brought them to Esther Hicks. I brought them to Tony Robbins. I brought them through a group through Jack Canfield. I've always believed in development. In development from the top. So my business partners, right? The person that I co-founded Recovery Unplugged with, we became friends at a UPW 23 years ago.
Wow.
So I knew that at least, most businesses don't work. Partnerships always have issues. So at least I knew that we were speaking the same language, when we started this. And for the people involved from the leadership, investors as well, almost all of them understand the mindset of developing people, because, when you're struggling to build a business and you're fighting to get paid every week, and then I'm like, oh, I'm bringing 25 people to a seminar for the next 7 days, that doesn't always go over so well with
right.
With
also, who's going to do the work if they're all out at the same time?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So, we've
how did that work that they were all gone for a week? I mean,
we didn't take everybody at the same time.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that
it always
can't all leave at the same time, right?
As we grew, it was, I brought 5 people, then 10 people, then 20 people. But now we have, I think I just looked, about 431 people as of this past week that we currently have on our team.
You have 431 people working for you now. That's insane. That's great.
It is absolutely insane.
How many centers do you have now?
So we currently are in 4 states with 2 more opening. And I say it like that because, for example, in Florida, we have 2 separate locations. In Austin, we have 3 separate locations. Nashville, we have 1. Northern Virginia, we have 1. And then we're opening in Southern Jersey and Charleston, South Carolina next month.
So you're going to have about 10 or 11 when you're done?
So we'll have 9, and then in May we're opening our first inpatient mental health facility.
Wow! So
what we realized was, we have this outcome study from Nova Southeastern University that's showing why what we're doing is working. Okay, there is no cure, there is no silver bullet. So anybody that says that for many of these places, that's not true. But we have a success rate that's 4 times better than the national average. And so because of that, I said, okay, during COVID, which was dangerous on many levels, but one of the greatest things that came out of COVID is that people now feel comfortable going online and talking.
Yes.
So we started a Zoom outpatient program, and then we started a separate outpatient online program just for anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And that is now turned into literally this year, where we're going to have our first inpatient residential mental health facility, using the same exact treatment, the same modalities, except for people that aren't battling drug or alcohol addiction. They're just battling depression.
Right. They don't have to actually check themselves in. Okay. So what would you like to share with people as far as mindset, or something that you've learned, because you've done a lot of Tony Robbins and a lot of other things? What's something that you would say is something that you practice that you'd like to share with people? Because you become very successful, And you've been doing,
I mean, a lot of I have a 5 minute journal. I was always afraid of journaling,
mm-hmm,
but I believe that's one of the greatest things that I've ever done in the morning and night.
mm-hmm,
I don't sit and write for hours, but
mm-hmm,
I do my 2 or 3 minutes in the morning and two or
mm-hmm,
3 minutes at night. And I believe it all wraps around on the mindset side, what goes in. And so I listen every morning and every night to different incantations, meditations, and people
mm-hmm,
7 days a week
mm-hmm,
because, and I also limit, like I love my Miami Heat, and the Dolphins always disappoint me, and I enjoy watching sporting events, but I limit what comes in. I
mm-hmm,
know what's going on in the
mm-hmm,
world, but I keep my mind as best as I can
mm-hmm,
focused not just on positive, but on things that are going to be beneficial to how I live. And
mm-hmm.
so, for me, it's about the daily structure of every morning when I get up and pray and I, listen. I have, certain things that I listen to every morning, writing the gratitude journal in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
night. That for me is what is able to keep me going on a daily basis.
Interesting. I do the gratitude I do radical gratitude, like so much gratitude. Yeah, that a lot of people that I have interviewed and that I've met, it turns out a lot of us do that gratitude every day. So that's awesome. Okay, well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for turning up. Is there anything that and by the way, everybody, the links will be in the show notes to everything Andrew Sossin and his wonderful facilities. So what would you like to leave everybody with before we close?
Sure. I mean, for us, it's all about helping. And, we are now in network with every major insurance company, anybody, anywhere, whether we have contracts with the VA and the military now as well. So if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's struggling with mental health or addiction, recoveryunplugged.com. We're in, like I said, 4 states, adding 2 more states, online as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is, we helped started with 20 people. We just helped our 14,000th
Wow.
person as of the end of December. My own family's alive because of what we do, and my goal now is to get that to help 100,000 people over the next several years.
Well, Andrew, you are a true inspiration. I can't say how much I admire you for your very life-saving and valuable work. It's just very awe-inspiring. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today. And thank you
I
everybody for
appreciate it.
listening. And again, check out the show notes and you'll be able to refer people there who are in need or just check it out. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Wealth Impact. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and life-changing. If you want to support the show and stay up to date with all of our latest episodes, the easiest way to do that is by following us on your favorite podcast platform. Just hit that follow button to never miss an episode. And if you really love the show and want to help us spread the word, leave us a review and share the podcast with your friends. Again, be sure to subscribe, and until next time, be impactful.